ProVelo Super League, it got underway on the weekend. The road to the tour, the foundation of the next generation of Australian cycling is up and racing. Matthew Keane and Matilda Reynolds with you. Tills, I got to see some of it in person because I was on the tour down under, but you were covering. How did it feel the first round by comparison to the first round 1 year ago?
Oh, yeah, that's such a good question. I think it really felt like we're back and it's a proven product. I think the year ago we was all like, how is this going to work? And is it going to work? And there was a lot of criticism and a bit of tall poppy, but I think it was such a celebration at the end of last year and everyone was so keen to get this year underway. In season 2, it just felt like the intensity of the racing was so much higher and everyone knew that it wasn't just about who won that race. It wasn't just about the sprinters. It was about everyone showing themselves. And so I think we really saw aggressive racing from all teams and all levels over the weekend.
The only stage I actually saw was the stage around Victoria Park on the Sunday, and I got to go there. So once the TDU finished, I went straight down to Victoria Park. And it was great as that was the first one, including all the races from last year, where I've actually been on the ground. And what impressed me was the organisation of the teams and how well set up they were. And the way that you had a team such as Brennan and the VIS, where there's a link between them, thanks to Tim Decker and the great contribution by Kel O'Brien, which we might touch on in a couple of moments. The level of organisation around the teams, the ARA Skip Capital team, they're just under 19s, the professionalism around them. It was really, really good for me to actually get a feel for it, be on the ground, talk to some of the teams. Zach Marriage was down there supporting the Butterfields team that he rode for previously. Now he's on to NSN. I was really impressed with the level of organisation from the teams. And one team that is jumping off the page to me, Tills, in the men's at least, is the Falcon Pedal Mafia squad. You can't join that team if you're not hip, not cool, don't have tattoos, and you don't go fast. You can't tick all those boxes, you can't join the team. Yeah.
Yeah, they really lit up the men's criterium on stage 2 as well. They were in everything, which I loved. I think they were very dynamic, and I just love that they weren't going to let the likes of Team Brennan and Cage Body Wrap have it all their own way. They really saw, Leighton Cook, he was a really big name that came out of Nationals. He was 4th in the men's road race. And it wasn't just the commentators who were saying, who is this guy? It was all of the professional riders as well. Pretty blown away. Of course, Connor Wright, he's an under-19s that is in that team. And honestly, the results that he's had and already is doing in the racing that he's been doing across mountain biking and road and under-19 nationals, World Tour development teams are probably already knocking on his door. So, yeah, I just love a lot of the new teams that have come in, actually. We're going to speak on the VIS, powered by Kel O'Brien mentoring program, and like the Pinnacle Racing team, the RCA Bikes Online team. The men's field was really big, and I think we had 139 riders. And so it was just a testament, I think, to the racing that we saw last year that everyone wants a piece of it.
At Pinnacle Performance, what I do like about them is Jack Marshall, one of the coaches from Pinnacle Performance, he's putting his reputation online and he's out there and he's racing. Plus also they've got Dylan Lindsay, who's the coach of Sarah Giganti. So they've got a good track record. You mentioned the under-19s, you mentioned Connor Wright. In the race that I saw, that I was on the ground, was the criterium on stage 2. And 136 riders in the race. What I was looking forward to was seeing just how many of the under-19s could ride position in a big peloton and ride position when they were averaging more than 50 Ks per hour. And it looks impressive. When you see 136 riders lined up on the start line, you think, wow, this is big. But when the under-19s, when the group from ARA go to Europe or any of the other under-19s go to Europe, there's not going to be 136 on the start line. There's going to be 180, sometimes 200. And the road is not going to be 2 lanes wide. It's going to be 1 lane wide. So it was a really good experience for them to be boys racing against men, but some of them raced like men. You mentioned Connor Wright. Not only was he up the front, he was off the front. The other kid that caught my attention was Harry Shannon from ARA Skip Capital. He got in a few moves. He was up the front a couple of times. Alistair Forsyth is outstanding. He can time trial. He can ride position in the bunch. He can climb. And he's pretty smart at school too. He's going into year 12. He's aiming for somewhere in the mid-90s whilst taking it easy at school. And Ollie Jirovic, he can ride position really well also. That's kind of the stuff that I was looking for with the under-19s, not the result, but how they rode position. And Niamh Parslow in the women's, for an under-19, she's a girl racing against some adult women out there, and she handled herself really well. Strong time trialist, positioned herself really well. So that's the kind of stuff that we look to see from the under-19s, not just where they finished.
Yeah, and I think also the under-19s from last year who have just stepped up to the under-23. You mentioned Alistair there. I think Emily Sanders, I was really impressed with her. Obviously, she had an incredible top 10. She was 10th in that 1.1 ton under stage that the women did as a part of the Tour Down Under. That was really impressive over a very, very hectic stage. And so I was really excited to see what she could do in the criterium. I think that we'll get into it, but Meridian Bike Bug, I think they could have actually been riding for Amelie. She seemed to handle the criteriums and the sprints really comfortably. But of course, we had Alyssa Pilates in the yellow jersey. So that is, obviously who the team backed. But I think I was really impressed with her positioning. Yes, she's not under 19, but she's only just come into the under 23 and is already looking very comfortable.
Yeah, and she was good actually on the Wednesday in the race that they had at Tanunda as part of the Tour Down Under. She held herself really well in a World Tour peloton. She's just finished school. She's a kid. She's just stepping up from the under-19s, and she's racing against women that are in their late 20s, early 30s, and have been at that level for 10 years. There's a lot to like. Let's get to the results from the men's race, huh? One of the things that I love but don't love to hate, is the strength of Team Brennan. I'd like them not to be as strong for the sake of the contest, but I love what Tim Decker is doing with that team, and that everybody who is good wants to be on that team because they see it as an opportunity to get to the next level. And Conor Leahy, brilliant, taking out the time trial, set himself up. But Tom Cornish in the criterium, all the pressure was on him. He's a guy that's got Olympic champion leading him out, in strongest team by a country mile in the race, and he delivered in a big way. And he sprinted like a trackie, not out of the saddle, accelerated, seated, and the two guys from Case Body Wrap, it was Graham Frisley and Kurt Ether in the minor placings, they couldn't get past him, and that's not a surprise.
Yeah, the Case Body Wrap really got humbled in this moment, I think, to have three riders in the top four, and they did it perfectly. Graham Frisley, I think Kurt Ether, if he'd been in a better position, I think in that type of sprint, he possibly could have gotten even closer to Tom Cornish, but we were all really anticipating Tom's sprint because we didn't get to see it at Nationals. He crashed in the criterium. He'd also crashed during the week as a part of the Norwood criteriums on this course. So we just really wanted to see, we'd heard a lot about Tom Cornish on the track. Like, I want to see this guy get some air and just launch it. And we weren't left disappointed. And to have Tom Cornish in first from Team Brennan, Graham Frisley second, Kurt Ether in third, and Oscar Gallagher in fourth, all part of Case Body Wrap. And then, you already spoke about Ollie Jurovic, who was in fifth there. But the results really did reflect a very challenging race. The men were cruising over 55K now on that course with 139 riders. It was very, very hot afternoon. So we did get our grand final moment though. It was a fantastic finish to that race.
Our man, Angus Calder, he was there commentating, standing in the shade. I reckon he finished the day 3 kilos lighter. It was that hot with the amount of sweat that he lost. It was a big day in the sun. What about stage 3? Ollie Sims taking a stage victory for the Cobra 9 Lee Surveyors team. That was really impressive for a guy who I consider could not find a worse course for him. He is a fantastic climber. That was the worst course possible, and he won. That's a sign of big things to come.
Yeah, he got away in a breakaway with Ivan Bennett. And I think there was another rider in there as well with Butterfield Zip Track Racing that Bennett was representing. And obviously Ollie Sims rides for Cobra 9 Lee Surveyors. And it was a doomed breakaway, Matt. It was like they had one lap to go and it was down to like 15 seconds. So it was like, oh, this is done sort of thing. They're going to get caught. We've already spoken about the strength of Case Body Wrap and Team Brennan, but they just made it and it looked like even Bennett was going to get it. But Ollie Sims not known for his sprinting capability. He launched off the wheel and just pipped Ivan at the post, and he won. He won stage 3. And we heard from Ollie talking about that he's really targeting the Tassie stages. He is an under-23 rider, and I think to show his class, which we also saw from Jack Ward last year, he really showed his class on stages that didn't suit him. He picked up a lot of points, a lot of bonus seconds during some of the criteriums, and that's what we want to see from all of these riders, is that they can show themselves across a number of different types of terrain.
Yeah, and that's the important part, is showing your versatility, because it's a chance to demonstrate that you can add value to a team even on the days that on paper don't really suit you. Where Ollie Sims first got my attention on the Queen stage of the Tour of Tassie last year, can't remember if he was 3rd or 4th, but he didn't win, but he was somewhere in there. And then he spent last season riding with the Ljubljana Poggi team, the Slovenian team that Tadej Pogačar helps fund. And I think he's got a bright future if he can put a race together like he did around at Tailem Bend. And then if he can climb like he did last year, which I think he'll climb even better come the Tour of Tassie, there's a lot to like there. So kind of Leahy has taken it out. He ends up, he's on top of the leaderboard for the ProVelo Super League with the general classification, the stage results as well. He's on 128 points. Tom Cornish in 2nd position, Graham Frisley in 3rd, Kurt Ether in 4th, Brendan Davies is in 5th position. Julian Borgia, I want to skip down to Levi Honan and Julian Borgia in 7th and 8th spot. Super young at the moment. They're two of the guys that I'm going to be watching really closely throughout this league.
Yeah, the first under 23s. It was definitely a big man sort of racing over the weekend. It was, it changed it dramatically not having that individual hill time trial that we had planned for on stage 1. I think the ProVelo Super League and the organisers did an incredible job under the conditions to make sure that we had 3 stages across the weekend. Obviously, incredible heat and conditions down there in South Australia. But, yeah, I think for Julian Baudry and Levi Hone, they know each other. Julian has been a part of Team Brennan, and that's going to be a really tight battle that we're going to be wanting to watch. And then also, how does Graham Frisley and Kurt Ether and Case Body Wrap, how do they work together? Connor Leahy, Tom Cornish. There's going to be a lot of dynamic racing within teams. So I'm really excited, particularly with our next round. That's coming. So, yeah, I think all of the guys that I know and the women who are entering the Melbourne to Warrnambool as age groupers, like as a part of the race, they are very nervous that they are going to be taking on these riders, and not just these riders, but the Australian champion, Pat Eddy, will be coming back to the Melbourne to Warrnambool, which we'll get to later in the show. But, it's an exciting field.
Cage Body Wrap, they've got a whole bunch of sprinters. You know what else they've got? They've got the best drummer.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen Tally Lane Welsh on the drums?
No, I'll need to have a drum off with him, Matt. Little secret, I did learn drums. So
really?
Yeah, 6 years of wasted money of my parents.
It's not wasted.
Yeah, I wish I'd learnt the guitar or something. Like, no one's taking a drum kit around a fire and just banging out like a
That's
tune.
True.
So I'll have to check him out. But we also had Tally Lane Welsh. He was fantastic. We had his GoPro footage and he was on the velophone. And ridiculously, again, we saw this with Tristan Saunders last year. He was off the front chasing things, nose breathing, and being able to talk to us over the phone. So we're loving having the velophone back and in the peloton for season 2. Yeah.
So that's kind of a wrap on SA Kick It for the men's. Just briefly, we touched on the under-19s with Alistair Forsyth. He's on top, and he's with the VIS team that is presented by Cal O'Brien mentoring program. How impressed were you with Cal O'Brien stepping in and funding the VIS to pay their entry fee?
Yeah, I know Curl pretty well, but I just have always found that he's a good bike rider and even greater guy off the bike. He I think Kel is a rider who has had great success, but he's not the highest paid rider in the professional peloton, nor is he looking to retire at any time soon. But so for him to be in his prime at the moment, so focused on himself and what's happening understandably around him, for him to look for opportunities to bring other riders up, to turn around and give them a helping hand up, I think, is wonderful. And he's in collaboration there with Tim Decker, as well, with Team Brennan and the VIS that Tim Decker is involved in. So I think it's a perfect collaboration. What I loved, Matt, was without being invited or asked, Kel was down there with you during the SA Kick It round. When he just finished his stage, probably the last thing he felt like doing, but he loved it, and he was down there and just really enjoying his role as a mentor.
So beyond the cash, in my opinion, the mentor part with Kel, that's worth way more than the money that he's putting in. 100%. For those young athletes to have access to Kel O'Brien is enormous. The other person he had with him, his girlfriend was with him, Ali Wollaston. 2 stage wins in the Santos Tour Down Under. One of the best sprinters when it's a hard uphill grind within world cycling. And she was down there as well. I'm hoping that she sees the racing at the ProVelo Super League, and she then, she's on the phone or via whatever medium it is, back to the next generation of cyclists in New Zealand. And she's really encouraging them to come over, because this league can grow with Oceania, not just within Australia.
Oh, 100%. I think in the women's, we actually did see quite a few Kiwi riders. The Black Magic team, they had a couple of individual riders who, really showed themselves off the front, particularly during stage 2. And Ali has spoken about previously just the challenges that there isn't a national riding league in New Zealand, and how important it is for these opportunities to come about. So, it's really exciting. She's going back to New Zealand after Cadell's for the Nationals. So hopefully she can word up some of New Zealand cycling over there and get some more support for the ProVelo Super League.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's move on to the women's. And obviously I was there for the criterium with Alyssa Polides. Oh, I felt for her. So she's just ridden the Santos Tour Down Under. She fronts up at the ProVelo Super League, where when you've been in the national team at the country's biggest race, there's a lot of pressure. Hats off to Alyssa Polides getting onto the start line. And then we've all seen the footage. She had the race won only by a whisker, early celebration, and Kira Will, too smart, sneaks up the inside all the way to the finish line. I felt for Alyssa Polides after it, and I heard your commentary.
I do want to address that, actually. I felt really bad. I think, I don't know, I was just a bit clapped out, and I think felt so disappointed for Alyssa, knowing her quite well, and I think I called her an amateur, which sounded a bit harsh in the moment. It just fell out of my mouth. But in retrospect, the thing is, it's happened to the very best riders in the world, and unless you're Julian Alaphilippe, a double-time world champion, you usually only make that mistake once. And I think, unfortunately, what that missed for Alyssa is that she actually had a really good ride to put us, because she isn't the best sprinter in that field. So for her to even be that close, or like she was about to win that race, was a huge result for her, because Adette Lynch on raw power is stronger than her. Kira Will showed how her strength and speed. And so it was, I felt for Alyssa. There's no point in jumping in on her or adding to that, because in that moment, no one feels worse in that moment than the athlete. But in saying that, we haven't really spoken about this, Matt, but I think from a commentating point of view for season 2 in the ProVelo, I think we're going to be a little bit more critical of the racing. Like, we've seen it now, and it is at a higher level, and we expect higher performances, better tactics, because there's huge opportunity on the line, and this is a great opportunity for those riders to learn and grow whilst being at home. And I think as commentators we can help them do that. But round the women's criterium was a fantastic race. It was aggressive. We had riders off the front, and it all came down, as always, to that bottom corner. And I think Meridian Bike Bug did a fantastic job. I think Red Cat went out. They let it out quite early and may have gone too early with that. So kudos to Kira Wheel, who picked that up and just found the right wheels. And then Adette Lynch, who was the favourite for that race, coming in third there as well. So it did really change the results for the weekend in how who positioned where on stage 2.
Hats off to Sophia Salmons for the job that she did on stage 2. Without Sophia Salmons, it would have been a whole lot more difficult for Kira Will. You mentioned Alyssa Pilates and that reference to Julian Alaphilippe. She's in good company. Alaphilippe has made that mistake a couple of times. Wout van Aert has made that mistake and then got beaten to a stage win by David Gaudu, of all people. And even the great Eric Zabel. Eric Zabel did it at Milan-San Remo and got pipped by Oscar Freire. So she's in good company, Tills. But you know what she did really well? I was there. I went straight across to her. I mean, she'd been finished for less than 5 minutes by the time I was at her car, and she'd barely finished taking her helmet off and having a drink and trying to compose herself. Asked her for an interview, and she said, yeah, okay. So let's have a listen to what Alyssa Pilates had moments after stage 2.
Yeah, I always give people a hard time when they take the hand off the bars too early, and I did it myself. So, yeah, lesson learned.
She owned it, and that's what I liked about it. She absolutely owned it, and she didn't walk away. I was uncomfortable going to ask her because I knew how bad she would feel. So a tough learning lesson, but she's learnt it. She'll never make that mistake again. And I was really impressed with the class that she showed and going, yep, that was all on me.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest changes that we saw in season 1, having SBS coverage throughout the entire race, pre, during and after, then we saw a different side of the athletes we don't usually get at this level in how they handle disappointment and how they handle their wins as well. And I think that speaks so much more to Alyssa's maturity as an athlete. She's still only like 24. And so I think the Emily Sanders is calling her mum just because she's so young. So I must be absolutely decrepit and ancient. But yeah, you forget how young Alyssa still is, but she does have enormous race maturity. But even I've been in touch with her since the race, and she really took it on the chin and was able to sort of not laugh it off in terms of she still really cared about it, but just have the right attitude to own it and move forward. So, yeah, I think I was quite impressed with how she handled it.
Yeah, the other good element, we did the interview and we made sure that Meridian Bike Bug was in the background. The car was all sticking up. So still thinking about the sponsors, which was great. I love that. I loved it. So on the positive, the ride by Kira Will, that was a solid ride. And she used her track craft. The way she squeezed up the inside, there wasn't much room there at all.
Yeah, and I think, she's joined Team Red Cat this year. She hasn't really been on one of those big teams before, so I'm excited to see how she can develop as a rider. She's focused a lot on the track, but a time comes when you do need to sort of start making that decision on where you're going to put that energy, and I'd love to see what she can do on the road, because it's still only just scratching the surface on what Kira Will can do after coming second last year in the Nationals crit and winning the under-23 crit last year. So, yeah, I hope to see a lot more of her.
And it was Belinda Bailey was in third with the best-looking kit in the peloton, outstanding-looking kit for the Nostro Attacker kit. And it was her 21st birthday, so happy birthday to Belinda Bailey. Let's talk about the winner, though, Adette Lynch from Butterfield Zip Track Racing. This is a team last year. It was Ali Anderson was firing the shots for them last year. She was third in the league last year, and they're off to a great start this year. And it's a team that's been invested in domestic racing for quite a while.
Yeah, and they didn't even have Keely Bennett there either. I think Soph Edwards, she has provided a lot of support for the team, and Sophie, who raced with the Australian team during the Tour Down Under, she really came out and said, like, I'm not looking for my own results. I don't want the pressure on me. I'm just purely here to support the team and do my best for her teammates. And a lot of maturity for Soph. She's hoping to go to the LA Games on the track while she's also studying to become a doctor. Yeah. So she, does it all, but here, and no better person to have her race now, her maturity, and then also her skill set. You know, she was really lining up Adette. But this stage 3, it was a pure drag race. Now, Adette had to win, and Alyssa had to not come in the top 3. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. Alyssa wasn't quite able to squeeze onto that stage on the podium, and she didn't make the podium. I think she was in 5th position. Again, Belinda Bailey was in 4th, who's going from strength to strength. Claudia Marks, who's also a trackie, was in 3rd. Emily Sanders, who I spoke about, as I think that's really the rider I'd love to see them go in on in the sprints, came 2nd. And Adette Lynch, she took the opportunity, won the stage, and then went into the GC and won the round.
Yeah, a fantastic result for her. As you mentioned, Kira Will, she's on top for the under-23s ahead of Sophia Salmons, then Emily Sanders, Kirsty Watts, and then Belinda Bailey in 5th position. The league this year, there's no guarantee of a spot on the Green Edge team, Jaco Alula or Liv Alula Jaco, whichever side of the fence that you're on. But what we did see from the league last year is there was more than the winner. There was plenty of other riders. There was about 7 riders that raced the ProVelo Super League last year that have gone on to continental development teams for World Tour squads. So the world is watching. So it's not just the winner that we're going to be focusing on.
Yeah, and what I loved out of that, Matt, for ourselves who invested in this ProVelo Super League, we were really hoping that a lot of those riders that didn't win got picked up, because then it would just really flow through to this season that it's not just the winner, it's everyone. So you need to show yourself at every stage, every round. We heard from Zach Marriage and a lot of the other riders actually who we caught up with saying, a lot of people were watching it overseas as well. Kell O'Brien mentioned himself that he was watching it. And so everyone's engaged, and particularly when they're all here in Australia and the racing is happening.
Yeah, and the outstanding performance from the under-19 in the women's was Neve Parslow, part of the ARA Skip Capital team. And we spoke about her briefly at the start. She was super strong in Perth at the Nationals, particularly in the time trial, which teams look to because that's just pure numbers. Are you strong? Yes or no? We'll find out in the time trial. Neve, the question? Absolutely.
Yeah, and they've got also a really young DS in Hayley Fuller helping look after them over at Nationals. And what I loved about Hayley was that she wants them to race, even though so much the under-19s women's is made up of ARA Skip Capital. She is getting them to race against one another in that. So they all get opportunity and they all learn a lot around racing dynamics and how to do that, particularly at that age. So, yeah, I think they're in really good hands there as well.
Yeah, and this time around for the ProVelo Super League, we've got the under-17s. I didn't actually get to see any of the racing for the under-17s, but we do have the results. In the women's, Ava Robbins from the Balmoral Cycling Club on top, Sienna Golding in 2nd position from Ipswich Cycling Club, and then Ava Gidget Rogers is in 3rd position from X-Speed Australia Cycling Club. Matilda Taylor is in 4th position, Emma Crawford in 5th spot. This is something that I'm going to be able to keep a closer eye on over the rest of the league, because throughout the Tour Down Under there was a bit happening, Tills. But I'm really curious to watch the under-17s and as always, not just look at the winner, but look a little further down and try and find some of the backstory, because often in the under-17s it's the kid who is more mature is winning. And then there's another kid that is slightly less developed, has been doing cycling not quite as long, they've done other sports, or they're spending more time elsewhere, they might still be juggling other sports. So you've got to look a little deeper than the top of the list.
Yeah, and that's what the teams, we heard from Zach Dempster really speak about as well, another, one of the biggest DSs in the world, talking about how they're watching and what they're looking for. And I think a lot of the DSs are looking for that untapped potential, like how big is that potential? And so if you've been training since you're 8 with a power meter and you're full-time doing it, how does that compare to someone who is a runner and they've just picked up a rim brake bike and they're winning some races? So, yeah, it's exciting to see what they can do. And we saw also this year, Matt, yes, we had 7 sort of go to the really big World Tour teams, but we also saw a heap of under-23s sign with development teams. So that's getting more and more common to be getting picked up younger and younger, which is just an unbelievable opportunity to travel the world, learn new languages and get paid for it.
Yeah. I did meet the winner of the under-17s boys in the under-17 men's, and that was Sid Natira from Hobart, and his birthday is in December. So if you're racing under 17s and your birthday is in December, if mum and dad had just coordinated the conception on a month later and he's born in January, he's the oldest, biggest, strongest kid in the group.
Yeah.
But he's nearly 12 months younger than some of the guys that he's racing against, and he's winning. So that's impressive. I love seeing that. The other thing I like about it, in addition, he's from Hobart. Then we had in second position Bryn McDonald. He's from Fraser Coast Cycling. Vince Bell in third position from Balmoral. Jack Penozzo from Carnegie. Tobias Jalbert is from Bendigo. We've got Sebastian is in second position. Third spot, he's from Newcastle. There's a kid in eighth position, Joe Hewlett. He's from the Midland Cycling Club in WA. The country's represented. There's kids coming to this from all over the country. So hats off to the Mum and Dad Institute of Sport, because that's not cheap to do.
But again, I think so much that comes down to the exposure that SBS is providing, because if you're a parent, you're even for the parent being like, well, what is this? Is it like, what sort of rodeo are you going to here? For them to be able to see the production, see the racing, see how supportive it was and how well the racing was put together, I think there's a lot. It's just going to breed more and more younger talent and aspire them to be involved in it.
Yeah, and I met the owners of the Diligence company that sponsors the under-19s.
Oh, yeah.
Their AI got there eventually. And, so they're gathering data and helping businesses grow. So I like that they're sponsoring the young group, the under-19s, and helping that pathway, helping through to the future. So the next stop is the Melbourne to Warrnambool. But before we get to that, the man that was on the ground was Angus Calder. He did not miss a beat. So let's take the PSL pulse with Angus.
Yeah, thanks, Keno, and thanks, Tills. I mean, what a weekend of racing. I was so impressed with the level. The women's racing in particular, I think we are set for a really great season. The talent, it just looks like it's spread out across all of the teams. But not only that, a lot of teams I'm seeing have got some great depth as well. So we're seeing teams go head-to-head rather than just individual riders on each of these squads. So really looking forward to that. Of course, Odette Lynch, she managed to seal the deal on the final stage, picking up so many bonus seconds. That was very impressive from her and her Butterfield Zip Track team. But Alyssa Polides is one rider, very excited to see her this season. She's going to come into round 2 with a lot of fire in the belly, especially after that blunder on stage 2. I think that cost her dearly, obviously in the stage win, but also the general classification. So I think for round 2, she's going to be incredibly motivated, as will the rest of her Meridian Bike team. And then Team Red Cat in general, they came in here, they'd lost some of their top riders, they'd moved up to the Liverpool Jaco team. And I was really impressed to see how their team rallied around Kira Will in particular on stage 2. We talked to her at the end of the stage and she gave them a big shout out, but I really do think they've got a great team culture there, and that's going to set them up fantastically well also throughout this season. So looking forward to see how Red Cat can put it together out on the road. It looks like they're doing all of the right things and they're using their resources to their maximum effect. The men's league as well, so fast, I couldn't believe it. The criterium, they averaged just over 50 k's an hour, and then the road race was 48.5, which is just ludicrous. Brennan, they come in again, they look like the team to beat. Case were around the mark, they challenged a few times and I think got the better of them on stage 3, Kurt Ether taking third there. But I think we can have a few big head-to-heads between those two teams this season, and we should get some great battles there out on the road. And in the under-23s, we saw a big battle last year between Zach Marriage and Jack Ward, but this time around, Levi Hone has really stepped up. He and Julian Baudry, 7th and 8th in the overall standings for the PSL right now. Both of them looked really good. They've both put in great performances. Levi Hone, an excellent climber. Really looking forward to see how he goes in round 3 at the Tour of Tassie. And Julian Baudry, former under-23 road race champ. We know his capabilities, we know his strengths. I think those two as well, we're going to see them towards the top of the results sheet very, very regularly. But a great race, setting up for a really good season. Lots to be excited about. I'm pumped.
Next up is the Melbourne to Warrnambool, or Colac to Warrnambool. This is a race, Tills, that I know is near and dear to your heart. How many times have you won it? Twice?
Yeah, I'm almost a bit jealous that I can't do it, to be honest. I'm, just drooling a little bit at how good this is going to be. I think, the Power Core Melbourne to Warrnambool, it's the list is impressive. And I think to have a lot of the riders who are racing in the Tour Down Under on the men's side coming back into their local teams, it's a bit like in the BBL when the cricketers come back from playing the tests and they come back into the BBL teams. It can make a big difference. So, I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing how this plays out. It's one of the best one days or weekends of cycling in Australia alongside the Nationals. So, we know the course, we know the history. And Pat Eddy, you might be able to answer this pop quiz. He was asking, has a national champion, the current national champion, ever won the Melbourne to Warrnambool?
That is an excellent question. If anybody is coming to mind, maybe Jamie Drew, depending on what year he won it. I'd have to double check. He's the one that is popping to mind for me. And, the national championships, here's one for you, Pat Eddy. The Road National Championships used to be incorporated within the Melbourne to Warrnambool. We're talking back in the 1910s and pre-World War One and just after World War One and stuff. They used to have the professional road race national championships were also somehow incorporated into the Melbourne to Warrnambool. Yeah, but that was that's a different, completely different sport.
So for Pat to be asking that question, he's meddling something. So
he's on.
It's on, like, to be coming from the World Tour and everything else. And I think he wants to keep that winning feeling. And he will be riding again with Team Brennan. So he'll be extremely marked though. But the strongest man and woman usually win.
Exactly. He is the absolute favourite, though. And he's got Tim Decker calling the shots, and Tim's won the race. And Tim helped Zach Dempster win the race, who's since gone on to work with the biggest teams in the world at Ineos and Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. How about the Lockhart Energy Women's Warrnambool Classic? Any standout favourites there?
Oh, I did speak to Alyssa and just say, it does really suit her, this race. It suits her if they make it a hard race. And I think that's what we want to see. And what I'm excited about the results, actually, Matt, is that last year we saw such a dominance from what's now known as Team Red Cat, that really affected the way that the Melbourne to Warrnambool was raced, where this year we won't have that. Like, it's quite spread throughout the teams. So we've got Butterfields, Team Red Cat, Meridian Bike Plug, and Nostromo, sort of the main teams that are going to be up there, and they've all got something to earn. So we found that last year they'd already sort of settled on like the hierarchy of teams, where this year we're coming into the Melbourne to Warrnambool, the women's, with a much more level playing field. So I expect a very much more attacking race. And if it's not, I'll be very disappointed.
And you'll let them know in the broadcast as well. You and I will be together covering it for SBS on the 14th to the 15th of Feb. Anything else to add, Tills, before we part company for another episode?
No, looking forward to it. They've got a few weeks to get themselves together, and it's only going to get better from here.
Thanks for joining us, ProVelo Super League. It's Australia's road to the World Tour.